Marriage by mistake. Chapter 1. A rainy night sends good news, marrying the wrong person. On a rainy night, the air seems to be filled with a moist fog, and the streets are muddy. According to the plan, the newlywed sedan chair should have been sent to Shangsha Mansion today, however, the trick of fate made this trip unexpected. After turning 2 streets, the sedan chair drivers mistakenly sent the sedan chair to Young and Bo's mansion. The candles flickered softly, and the warm light pierced through the window screens, reflecting a delicate woman sitting at a dresser, the veil hanging gently to cover her face. Her name is Su Chingruo. She comes from an ordinary scholarly family, gentle and elegant, and has never seen the world. Little did she know that today's wedding would turn her life upside down. She leaned on the windowsill, silently recalling her parents' parting advice, and just when she was restless, there was a slight knock on the door. She hurriedly turned around, only to see a petite maid hurrying over. "Miss, husband is here." Su Chingruo's heart trembled suddenly, and then she remembered today's wedding. She was helped by the maid to the wedding account, gently opened it, and was greeted by a tall and well-groomed man. He was dressed in a cyan robe, and his expression was relaxed, as if he was not interested in the troubles of the world, but his eyes were as deep as the sea, and they seemed to hide countless secrets, which people did not dare to explore easily. He is Shen Muchen, the son of Yang Anbo, and the outside world calls him the handsome and extraordinary Shen Shizi. But today, he appeared here, standing in front of Su Chingruo's happy tent, waiting for this wrong marriage. "Miss Su, congratulations!" Shen Muchen whispered, his eyes gentle, but faintly with a hint of coldness. Su Chingruo lowered her head slowly. She didn't know how to face all this. She had married the wrong man, and the marriage agreement seemed to be out of her control. Chapter 2. The Enigmatic Husband, the Fate That Cannot Be Escaped. The next morning, Su Chingruo opened his eyes and found himself lying on a soft bed, surrounded by fresh and refined furnishings. Beside her, Shen Muchen was tidying up her clothes, and at that moment, her mood was complicated and indescribable. "Good morning, Saburo." Su Chingruo greeted in a low voice, but there was a slight doubt in his tone. When Shen Muchen heard this, he paused slightly, turned his head, and those deep eyes made Su Chingruo unable to look directly. "Where's Saburo?" His voice remained calm, but unmistakable. Su Chingruo was stunned for a moment, realizing that he had inadvertently made a mistake. She hurriedly lowered her head and said no more. "However, the doubts in my heart came like a tidal wave. Her marriage came so suddenly, and so strangely, that it seemed beyond her control." Her heart began to feel an inexplicable fear. Shen Muchen didn't care too much about her emotions, but handed her her clothes. "Get ready, I'll take you to Fuzhong in the afternoon." This may seem random, but in fact it has a hidden purpose. Su Chingruo secretly wondered in his heart, could he really be forced to marry him like this? Chapter 3. Gigi Azubero's Anger and the Breaking of Lies. Time flies like a white horse, and the days pass quietly in Su Chingruo's heart. She gradually adapted to life in Yong'an, and although it was not entirely happy, at least it was not too embarrassing. Shen Muchen's attitude towards her is still cold, but he has not neglected her needs in life. She gradually found that Shen Muchen seemed to maintain a kind of distance from her. Until one day, Su Chingruo met his former fiancée, Ji Jianhan, the third Lang of the Ji family, on the way south to the province. Ji Jianhan looked at Su Chingruo with burning eyes, obviously dissatisfied that she was married to Shen Muchen. He was slender, wearing a white robe, and there was a trace of anger on his face that could not be concealed. "Chingruo, don't you know that he has no sincerity for you?" Ji Jianhan's voice was a little eager. "He has never given you any emotion, it's all a ploy." When Su Chingruo heard these words, his heart suddenly shook, and the deep feelings he once had instantly became blurred. You mean?" She was stunned, her heart beginning to waver. Ji Jianhan then said, "He just wants to use you and marry your family. This marriage is not out of love at all, but a pawn of a scheme." After Su Chingruo heard this, his whole person was like being struck by lightning, and his brain was in chaos. She couldn't believe every word she heard in front of her, and she couldn't help but feel an irrepressible pain and doubt in her heart. "What are you talking about? How could he be like this?" Just as she said these words, Ji Jianhan's gaze suddenly became deep. "He has already arranged it, Chingruo, you have been deceived." He revealed the truth about her marriage. Chapter 4. Lies Uncovered, Choices of Love and Betrayal. After Ji Jianhan's words, Su Chingguo fell into a deep confusion. She began to reflect on her marriage. Was this wrong marriage a trick of fate, or a conspiracy carefully planned by Shen Muchen? On a stormy night, Shen Muchen suddenly appeared in her room. The candle light was faint, illuminating his face, and a rare trace of warmth appeared on that cold face. Chingguo, I know you have doubts in your heart, but all this is to protect you. Su Chingguo looked at him stunned, and the doubts and confusion in his heart instantly aroused countless emotions. She couldn't help but ask, so, what exactly do you want? Shen Muchen glanced at her deeply, with indescribable complex emotions in his eyes. What I want has never been this marriage itself, but you. Chapter 5, The Ultimate Choice of Fate. Su Chingguo suddenly understood that everything was a well-designed chess game. Everything Shen Muchen has ever done has never had a trace of sincerity, and all his actions hide deep calculations. However, all of this was long beyond her control. How will she choose? Do you choose to face this test of fate with Shen Muchen, or do you choose to return to Ji Jianhan's arms and look for the beautiful love that once was? In the end, Su Chingguo made a choice. She decided to go her own way. No matter what the future holds, she was no longer tied down by anyone, and she wanted to get back that freedom that was truly her own. Chapter 6, The Choice of the Heart, the Oath and the Rebellion. Su Chingguo stood by the window, staring at the gradually brightening sky outside, and her heart was like a tumbling wave. Whether it is Shen Muchen or Ji Jianhan, both of them are important figures in her life, but she gradually realized that whether it is the trick of fate or her own choice, she can no longer be a passive pawn. Her heart is no longer a plaything in the hands of others, but the only sovereignty she holds herself. That night, Shen Muchen stood in front of her door, and his figure looked unusually tall in the lights. He stood silently for a long time, as if waiting for her response. When she finally pushed open the door and looked at him, his eyes passed through a trace of coldness that had not subsided, but with a trace of longing that could not be concealed. Chingguo. Shen Muchen's voice was low and magnetic, and he stepped forward and approached her. Su Chingguo's heart moved slightly. At this moment, she deeply felt the coldness and profundity emanating from Shen Muchen's body. It was not out of love, but an unfathomable secret. However, all this is like a web of fate that cannot be escaped. What the hell are you for? Su Chingguo finally spoke, her voice trembling. Her heart was full of contradictions and uneasiness, and she no longer wished that she was just a part of his calculations. Shen Muchen was slightly stunned, and then lowered his eyes slightly. All this is already doomed. There was a bit of helplessness in his tone. Su Chingguo, you are destined to be mine, no matter what, I won't let go. After Su Chingguo heard this, his heart was shocked. A flash of realization flashed in her eyes, and then she said in a resolute tone, You are wrong, Shen Muchen. This marriage is not the chess game you want, and I will not sacrifice myself for the trick of fate again. Shen Muchen's expression changed slightly, as if he didn't expect her to be so resolute. But he just sneered, and his tone was cold. Do you think you can escape all this? Chapter 7, Double-Sided Lies, The Truth of Fate. A few days later, Su Chingguo suddenly received a letter from Ji Jianhan, which revealed Shen Muchen's deeper schemes. The contents of the letter shocked Su Chingguo. It turned out that Shen Muchen was not only planning this marriage, but also had a bigger plan. He was planning a political alliance, and she was the indispensable bridge. All this is carried out under Shen Muchen's careful layout. This is not pure love, but the interweaving of interests and the struggle for power. Su Chingguo couldn't help but fall into deep thought. She once thought she was an innocent person in this relationship, but found that she had already been caught in a whirlpool of power schemes. Ji Jianhan said in the letter that Shen Muchen had used her connection with the Ji family to achieve his goal. Today, she is no longer an innocent woman, but a pawn in a game of thrones. When Su Chingguo confronted Shen Muchen again, her mood had completely changed. She is no longer the passive girl, but someone who truly understands her destiny. Shen Muchen, what are you doing this for? Her eyes were blazing, and she looked directly at him. A cold light flashed in Shen Muchen's eyes. He smiled slightly, and said in a cold tone, For the future of this world, for our family, these efforts are worth it. He didn't show any guilt or remorse, but said lightly, You're mine after all. Su Chingguo's heart burned with strong anger and determination. She was no longer the woman who obeyed the arrangement of fate, and she would no longer let herself become a pawn under his control. She spoke calmly, Then, I choose not to be with you anymore. I will seek my own future, whether it is with Ji Jianhan or alone. After Shen Muchen heard this, his face changed. He didn't seem to expect Su Chingguo to make such a choice. His eyes became deeper. You know, the path you choose will not be easy. You will face many enemies, and you will have to face the consequences of it all. A hint of firmness flashed in Su Chingruo's eyes, and she did not flinch. I'm ready. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8, The Price of Choice, The Truth of Betrayal. Su Chingruo decided to leave the Yong'anbo mansion and began to find his true path. She didn't fully believe Ji Jianhan's words, but she knew that Shen Muchen's plan was too amazing, and if she continued to follow him, she would only push herself deeper into the quagmire. Just as Su Chingruo was about to leave, she received a sudden news: Ji Jianhan was framed and innocently imprisoned. At this time, Su Chingruo set off a turbulent wave in his heart. She never imagined that the choice she made would lead to such terrible consequences. She knew very well that Ji Jianhan was not without fault, but this time, her choice made him bear the responsibility that he should not bear. In any case, she must solve this misunderstanding for Ji Jianhan, even though she has chosen to let go of everything in the past. Shen Muchen, you have calculated all this so accurately, but you didn't expect that there will still be unexpected variables in the final chess game. Su Chingruo murmured in a low voice, and his heart was cold. She began to struggle for Ji Jianhan's grievances, and Shen Muchen became her biggest enemy. In this thrilling power struggle, she will fight against everyone until she finds the truth that belongs to her. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 9, The Beginning of the Counterattack, A New Dawn. Su Chingruo secretly decided in her heart that no matter how Shen Muchen calculated, no matter how difficult all this was, she would choose a new path for herself and Ji Jianhan. This path, although challenging, also means that she no longer succumbs to fate. She will uncover Shen Muchen's true face and seek justice and relief for all those who have been wrong. At this point, Su Chingruo's counterattack officially kicked off. Chapter 10, The Vortex of Power, No Turning Back. Su Chingruo is no longer the woman who is full of longing for the world and looking forward to her happy marriage. Every conspiracy and betrayal she experienced made her grow up and become calm and resilient. She knows very well that this world will never give people a chance in vain, and she will not easily let go of everyone who has succumbed to fate. Shen Muchen's conspiracy became more and more complicated. He not only used her, but also cleverly arranged various plots behind her back, intending to push her into a quagmire from which she could not extricate herself. Everyone she knew, whether it was Ji Jianhan or Shen Muchen, was no longer what she knew at the beginning. She began to understand that these people are not simple emotional entanglements, but hidden behind them are deeper interest games. In order to uncover Shen Muchen's true face, Su Chingruo has never let go of any clues easily. She investigates in secret, not only to find out about Shen Muchen's past, but also to gain insight into his connections with other regimes and families. In the process, she discovered an astonishing fact: behind Shen Muchen, there was a more powerful force supporting him. All this seems to be a careful layout. Shen Muchen is just a chess piece in the chess game, and the real Black Hand is an unknown big man. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 11, The Dark Tide is Turbulent, The Time to Fight Back. After uncovering the conspiracy behind Shen Muchen, Su Chingruo decided to unite those who were also dissatisfied with Shen Muchen's control and began to fight back. She knew that if she wanted to win this struggle, it was not enough to rely on her own strength. She needs more support, more alliances. And Ji Jianhan has undoubtedly become one of her most powerful allies. Although he had been in trouble because of her choices, he chose to forgive her and was willing to fight alongside her. Ji Jianhan's family is a powerful family in the Jiangnan region, with a lot of troops and resources. If you can use their strength, you can face Shen Muchen head-on. Su Chingruo knew in his heart that this duel was not just for himself, but for all those who were sacrificed in the power game. She will no longer be a pawn, but will have to control the fate of this chess game with her own hands. A few months later, Su Chingruo and Ji Jianhan began to contact other forces and slowly formed a resistance army. They teamed up to form a secret alliance and began to launch various blows against Shen Muchen's forces behind their backs. A bloody power struggle has quietly begun. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 12, Break Free and Fight for Love. Su Chingruo found herself getting deeper and deeper into it, and the desire for power and hatred were like poison, gradually corroding her soul. However, after every duel, she would recall the once ignorant and innocent self, and think of the long-lost emotion. She once loved Shen Muchen, and even believed in everything about him. However, when she truly understood Shen Muchen's conspiracy, that love had long been replaced by betrayal and deception. What she is facing is no longer the choice of love, but the choice of power and morality. The truth of all this, she couldn't be silent any longer. She not only wants to fight for a new future for herself, but also to find justice for those who have been victimized in this game. On a stormy night, Su Chengruo stood in front of Ji Jianhan's study and discussed the final plan with him. She knew that tomorrow's actions would decide everything. Maybe her life would change because of this, maybe she would become a pawn in Shen Muchen's hands again, but she was no longer afraid. Chengruo, in this battle, no matter whether you succeed or fail, you are brave enough. Ji Jianhan's voice was firm and warm. Su Chengruo nodded slightly, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. No matter what the outcome is, I'm going to keep going. There was a determined glint in her eyes. It was a power that belonged to her, even in the face of the greatest wind and waves, she would not look back. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 13, The Ultimate Showdown, A Twist of Fate. In the early morning, the sun shines through the clouds, illuminating the entire capital. However, this peaceful scene could not hide the impending storm. Su Chengruo and Ji Jianhan led the alliance forces, and after a secret meeting, they decided to launch a final counterattack. She knew very well that if she couldn't succeed this time, Shen Muchen's conspiracy would completely swallow everything she had. However, she had already made up her mind that no matter what the outcome was, she would fight hard for herself and all innocent people. Shen Muchen didn't care at all, his eyes were still cold, as if he felt that this power struggle was just a matter for him. He sat in his hall, smiling, watching Su Chengruo and Ji Jianhan's counterattack gradually approach. However, he was wrong. The alliance between Su Chengruo and Ji Jianhan was much stronger than he expected. By the time he realized he couldn't control the situation, it was too late. In the end, Shen Muchen's conspiracy was revealed, and all the truth was made public. Su Chengruo used his fearless courage to lead everyone to completely break this dark game of conspiracy. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14, The Dawn of Rebirth, A New Beginning. Shen Muchen was forced to withdraw from the center of power, and Su Chengruo was no longer the woman who was powerless in the face of fate. She stepped out of the shadows of the past and regained her confidence and strength. Accompanied by Ji Jianhan, Su Chengruo decided to start her life again. This time, she will no longer be a pawn in anyone's hands, but fight for herself, for love and justice. This whirlpool of power has ended, but Su Chengruo's story has just begun.